My name is Isabella Griffin. I'm 30 years old. 2 days before Christmas, my father called and said without a trace of emotion, "Don't you dare show your face. A single mom and her fatherless 5-year-old have no place at this family table. You'd only embarrass your brother and destroy the entire night." So I set 2 paper plates on my tiny kitchen table, lit 1 candle, and sang Jingle Bells to my son until he laughed like it was the best Christmas of his life. Then my grandparents knocked. Grandma took my hand, pressed a small brass key into my palm, and whispered 7 words that stopped my heart. "Your father never told you about the Christmas box." And that was the exact moment their perfect family lie started to burn. Before I tell you what happened before that knock, because that knock didn't come out of nowhere, it came out of 15 years of silence, and one woman who finally decided she'd been quiet long enough. If this story is already hitting close to home, please like and subscribe, but only if it truly resonates with you. Now let me take you back. 2 days before Christmas, I was on a 12-hour shift at Dayton Children's. I'm a pediatric nurse. I spend my days changing IV lines on other people's kids, holding their hands through blood draws, telling 3-year-olds that the needle pinch will only last a second. I'm good at it. I'm steady. I don't flinch. My phone buzzed during my break. I was sitting in the staff lounge eating a granola bar and staring at the vending machine. I saw the caller ID, Dad, and my stomach dropped the way it always does. My father doesn't call to chat. He calls to tell me what I shouldn't do. I picked up anyway. "Hey, just wanted to touch base about Christmas," he said. His voice was light, casual, like he was confirming a dentist appointment. "Tyler's got a lot going on. Big dinner. He's introducing Madison to everyone." I waited. I'd learned to wait. My father doesn't deliver bad news. He builds a runway first, paves it with small talk, and then lands the plane on you. It's Tyler's night, you know? He's introducing the woman he's going to marry, and you showing up alone, with Liam running around. It sends the wrong message. You understand? He said, "You understand," the way people say it when they don't mean it as a question. They mean it as an instruction. "A single mom and a 5-year-old," he added. And I heard something in his voice that I'd later learn to identify as fear disguised as judgment. "They don't belong at this kind of table. Not for this." I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I said, "Okay, Dad." He said, "It's better this way. For everyone." I hung up and sat in that lounge for another 4 minutes. Not because I was upset, because I was calculating how many more holidays I'd let him subtract me from before there were none left. Thanksgiving 2023, gone. Easter 2024, gone. 4th of July, gone. Tyler's birthday, gone. And now Christmas. I'd been erased from the family calendar one event at a time, and the worst part was that I'd been the one drawing the X through each date, because Craig didn't force me out. He made me feel like leaving was my idea. When I got to the car after my shift, I checked my phone. There was a text from Tyler sent 3 hours before Dad's call. "Can't wait for you and Liam to meet Madison. She's great. You'll love her." I read it twice. Tyler wanted me there. Tyler mentioned Liam by name. Tyler was excited to introduce his fiancée to his sister. Dad called after Tyler texted. Dad overrode Tyler's invitation with his own verdict. Tyler didn't decide I shouldn't come. Dad did. I screenshotted Tyler's text. I didn't know why at the time, but I saved it. On the drive home, Liam spoke from his car seat. "Mommy, are we going to Grandpa's house for Christmas?" I looked at him in the rearview mirror. He was holding a star ornament he'd made at preschool. Tinfoil and crayon, "To Grandpa," written in purple block letters. He'd been carrying it in his backpack for a week. "We're going to have our own Christmas, buddy," I said. "Just you and me." "Can we have mac and cheese?" "We can have whatever you want." I stopped at the Dollar Tree on the way home, bought red and green napkins, 2 candy canes, and a pack of birthday candles because they didn't have Christmas ones. Total, $4.38. Christmas Eve, our apartment. I set the table, 2 paper plates, 2 paper napkins, 1 red, 1 green, and 1 birthday candle in a coffee mug because I didn't have a holder. Mac and cheese from a box. Chicken nuggets in the shape of dinosaurs. Apple juice in paper cups. Liam wore his Christmas sweater, the one Grandma Donna mailed 2 weeks ago, red with a white snowflake pattern. I was still in my scrubs. Hadn't bothered to change. "Sing the one Grandpa Gerald likes," Liam said. I stopped stirring the mac and cheese. Liam remembered. 2 years ago, the last time we visited Grandpa Gerald at the care facility, Gerald was having a good day. He'd hummed along when I sang Silent Night. Liam was 3. He remembered. So I sang Silent Night. My voice cracked on the second line, but I kept going. Liam sang too, off-key, clapping at the wrong beats, grinning like we were at Carnegie Hall. I looked at my son across our tiny table with its paper plates and birthday candle. He was happy. Genuinely, completely happy with mac and cheese and his mom's broken voice. And I thought about the house I grew up in. The one my grandfather Gerald built with his own hands in 1978. Board by board, nail by nail. The wraparound porch where I used to sit with him while he taught me how to sand wood. The kitchen where my mother Christine baked apple pie every Thanksgiving before the cancer took her when I was 14. That house was 20 minutes away. Right now, Tyler was setting crystal glasses on a table for 8. Craig was polishing his patriarch speech. And I was here, in a 1-bedroom apartment where my son slept on a fold-out bed in the living room and I slept on the couch. If your father ever told you that you didn't belong at his table, even though you were the one who kept showing up, leave a comment. I want to hear your story. I washed the dishes, 2 plates, 2 cups, 2 forks, put Liam to bed, tucked his ornament under his pillow because he wanted Grandpa to feel it through the magic. Then I sat alone in my kitchen with the lights off. I was thinking about the summer I was 12. Gerald taught me how to replace the porch floorboards. "Measure twice. Cut once, little one," he said. He let me hold the hammer. Mom took photos from inside the screen door. Gerald stood back and looked at the porch when we finished. He said something I thought was just old man poetry at the time. "This house knows who loves it." I didn't understand then. I understand now. I wasn't always excluded. That's the thing people don't understand about families like mine. The door doesn't slam shut all at once. It closes an inch at a time, and by the time you notice, you've been standing outside for years. Thanksgiving 2023. I was still showing up then. I brought Liam. He was 3. We walked in, and Craig was already seated at the head of the table. Tyler was there with a girlfriend I never met again. I set Liam in a booster seat next to me. Craig looked at Liam, then at me. "Does the kid have a father, or—" I waited for the rest of the sentence. It didn't come, just the "or," hanging there like a hook. I'm just asking because Tyler's bringing someone and I want the table to feel complete. Complete, as in, paired off. As in, a woman with a child and no partner makes the table feel broken. I should have said something. But what do you say to a sentence that smooth? It wasn't an insult. It was an observation, delivered with the calm of a man who knows exactly how deep to cut without leaving a visible wound. "You know I love Liam," Craig added, buttering a roll. "I just don't want people asking questions that make you uncomfortable." I left early that day. Told Tyler I had a headache. Told myself it was fine, but what I carried home was the feeling, the specific, corrosive feeling, that Craig was right. I was incomplete. I was the awkward one. I was the reason the table felt wrong. It took me 2 years and a brass key to understand. The table never felt wrong because of me. It felt wrong because the man sitting at the head of it was sitting on a lie, and the fewer people who asked questions, the safer he was. Easter 2024, 4th of July, Tyler's birthday in September. Each time, a version of the same call. It's just not a good time. Tyler needs space. It'll be easier if you sit this one out. I sat them all out. That's when I heard the knock. It was 8 o'clock on Christmas Eve. I opened the door expecting maybe a neighbor or a package left late. Grandma Donna stood there in her heavy wool coat, snowflakes in her silver hair. Behind her, Grandpa Gerald sat in his wheelchair, wearing the same green Christmas vest he'd worn every December since I could remember, the one with the embroidered holly berries. He wore it in the photo on our mantel. He wore it every Christmas when I was small, and he'd lift me onto his shoulders to put the star on top of the tree. He was wearing it now. Donna was carrying a wooden box, about the size of a shoebox but heavier. Hand-carved. Old. "Grandma, what are you? Aren't you supposed to be at Tyler's dinner?" She didn't answer that. She pushed Gerald's wheelchair inside, parked him by the living room where Liam was sleeping on the fold-out. Gerald looked at the little Christmas tree I'd set up, 3 feet tall, bought at Walgreens. His eyes glistened. Donna sat down across from me at the kitchen table. She placed the wooden box between us. Then she opened her palm, and there it was. A small brass key, dull with age, warm from her grip. She put it in my hand. "Your father never told you about the Christmas box?" I looked at the box. Up close, I could see there were letters carved into the lid. I couldn't read them in the dim light. "Your grandfather made this box the year you were born," Donna said. "It was supposed to be yours when you turned 18. My hands were shaking. I didn't know why yet, but something in Donna's voice, the way she said "supposed to," told me that whatever was inside this box was going to change everything I thought I knew. I turned the key. I sat on the kitchen floor. Donna sat across from me in the only chair that wasn't broken. Gerald was in the next room. The apartment was quiet except for Liam's breathing. Inside the box, a yellowed envelope, a stack of old photographs, and a handwritten letter in careful, steady penmanship I recognized immediately. Grandpa Gerald's handwriting, from before the dementia, when his letters were straight and certain. The envelope was thick. On the front, in typed print, "Griffin Family Trust, Isabella Marie Griffin, beneficiary." I looked at Donna. "What is this?" "Read the letter first." I unfolded Gerald's letter. It was dated March 1996, the month I was born. "Dear Isabella, I built this house in 1978 with my own hands, every board, every nail. When you were born, I knew. This house is for you. You are my first grandchild. I grew up without a home of my own, and I promised myself that no child of mine, or grandchild, would ever feel that kind of rootless. I set up a trust with my attorney Scott Brennan so that when you turn 18, the house becomes yours legally and fully. Your father is the trustee until then. He'll take care of this for you. I love you, little one. Grandpa Gerald." I read it 3 times. I don't remember the first 2. The third time, I stopped on one line. "When you turn 18, the house becomes yours." I was 30. I turned 18 12 years ago. No one told me about a trust. No one handed me keys. No one said, "Your grandfather left you his house." I looked at Donna. "He wrote this when I was born?" She nodded. "I was supposed to get this at 18? Another nod. Dad was the trustee. Donna didn't nod this time. She looked at her hands. I opened the envelope. 6 pages. Legal paper. Notary seal in the corner. The raised kind you can feel with your fingertips. 3 signatures at the bottom. Gerald Griffin. Craig D. Griffin. Trustee. Scott Brennan. Attorney at law. Date: March 15th, 1996. Section 4. Upon the beneficiary reaching the age of 18, 18 years, the trustee shall transfer the property located at 1847 Oakmere Drive, Centerville, Ohio, to the beneficiary in full. My name, my grandfather's house, my father's signature. I put the document on the floor, carefully, like it might shatter. Like if I moved too fast, the words might rearrange themselves into something less true. Does Dad know about this? He signed it, Donna said. Then why don't I own this house? Donna didn't answer right away. She let the question sit in the room, the way a nurse lets a patient sit with a diagnosis before explaining treatment. I knew that silence. I used it at work every day. He was supposed to transfer it when you turned 18, Donna finally said. He never did. And when I asked why, he told me it wasn't my business. When I pressed, he told me something worse. I looked at her, waiting. But Donna shook her head. Let me show you the rest first. In the stack of photos, I found a Polaroid. Gerald standing in front of the house, holding me. Maybe 2 years old. I was wearing a red corduroy jumper. Gerald was smiling wider than I'd ever seen in any picture. Behind him, a Christmas wreath on the front door. On the back of the photo, in Gerald's handwriting. For my first grandchild. This house will always be yours, little one. I looked at the photo. Then I looked at Gerald through the kitchen doorway. He was sitting in his wheelchair, staring at nothing. Wearing the same green vest with the holly berries, the same vest from the photo. Donna had dressed him in it on purpose. I went to him. I knelt. I held up the Polaroid. Gerald's eyes shifted. Focused. For 5 seconds, maybe 6, the fog lifted. He looked at the photo in my hand. Then he looked at me. His mouth moved. One word. Yours. I didn't cry because I was sad. I cried because for the first time in my life, I understood. I was never nothing. I was just never told what I had. Back in the kitchen, Donna told me her part. When you turned 18, I asked your father when he'd transfer the house. He said he'd handle it. Her voice was steady. She'd rehearsed this for years. A year later, I asked again. He said the timing wasn't right. By the 3rd year, I stopped asking, because he told me something I've carried ever since. She paused. He said, if you bring this up again, you will never see Isabella or the baby again. You want to die without seeing your grandchildren? Then keep quiet. I gripped the edge of the table, not from shock, from recognition. Every week for 5 years, Donna had called me, every Sunday at 4. How are you, sweetheart? How's Liam? Are you eating? I thought she was being a good grandmother. She was, but she was also checking, measuring whether Craig had pushed me all the way out yet. Each call was surveillance. Each "I love you" carried the weight of something she couldn't say. Gerald, in the other room, reached for Donna's hand. His fingers found hers by reflex, the way a vine finds a wall. He didn't know what we were talking about, but his body knew she needed him. There's more, Donna said. She reached into the box and pulled out another envelope. This one from a law office. I found this in your father's office trash. He threw it away. It was a letter from Scott Brennan's firm, dated 2015. A second notice. Formal language. Per the terms of the Griffin Family Trust, the property at 1847 Oakmere Drive should have been transferred to the beneficiary Isabella Marie Griffin upon her 18th birthday, 2014. Please contact our office to complete the transfer. Stamped at the top. Second notice. My father didn't forget. He received 2 legal reminders and threw them both away. Donna wasn't done. Last year, a letter came from the bank while your father was at work. I opened it. She pulled out a bank statement, mortgage statement, property, 1847 Oakmere Drive. Outstanding balance, $142,000. Borrower, Craig D. Griffin. He mortgaged the house, I said. 3 times, Donna said. I looked at the dates. First mortgage, 2018, the year Tyler started at Ohio State. Second, 2020. Third, refinance pending. Where did the money go? I asked. Donna said, ask Tyler about his tuition, his car, his condo down payment. I sat there on that kitchen floor with 6 pages of trust documents, 2 lawyer letters thrown in the trash, a mortgage statement for $142,000, and a Polaroid of my grandfather holding me in front of a house that legally belonged to me. Donna said one more thing. 3 years ago, Craig sold the detached garage, the workshop Gerald built for his woodworking. Sold it for $28,000. That same month, Tyler told me Dad had given him an early inheritance to help with his condo. $28,000. Same number. Tyler's early inheritance came from selling a piece of my property. I sat with that thought for a long time. Not the anger, the math. $85,000 for tuition, $60,000 for the car and condo, $28,000 for the garage. That's $173,000. My grandfather built a house with his hands and left it to me, and my father turned it into a credit line for his favorite child. Every time Craig told Tyler I worked hard so you wouldn't have to. That wasn't true. Craig didn't work hard. Craig signed papers. Craig took loans against a house that wasn't his. And every check he wrote to Tyler was drawn on an account funded by my stolen birthright. I picked up my phone and opened Tyler's Instagram. His most recent post, 2 weeks old, a photo of the house freshly painted, caption reading, "Home Sweet Home. Renovations coming soon. Big things ahead." Tyler was planning renovations on my house, posting about it like it was already his. Big things ahead, because in Tyler's world, it was. Craig had been laying the groundwork for months. I called Megan. Megan Clark is my best friend and the only person at work who knows how bad things are at home. She's a nurse too. She answers on the second ring, even at midnight on Christmas Eve. Meg, I need you to listen. My grandfather left me his house. My father hid it for 12 years. Silence, then. Wait, what? I told her everything. The trust, the signatures, the mortgage, the lawyer letters in the trash. Tyler's tuition, Tyler's car, Tyler's condo, the refinance pending next month, the garage sale. I read her sections of the trust document over the phone. Isabella, Megan said slowly, that's not just hiding something. That's fraud. He took loans against a property he doesn't own. Hearing someone else say it made it real. I'd been sitting on that floor wondering if maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was reading the documents incorrectly. Maybe Gerald's dementia meant the trust wasn't valid. Maybe Craig had some explanation I couldn't see. Because that's what 15 years of being told you're the problem does to you. It makes you question your own eyes. Megan's voice cut through all of it. What are you going to do? She asked. I don't know. Donna says Dad is planning to announce something at the dinner tomorrow. She thinks he's going to formally give the house to Tyler, as a wedding gift, in front of witnesses. Megan was quiet for 3 seconds. When she spoke again, her voice was different. The voice she uses in the ER when there's no time for second opinions. If he does that in front of witnesses and you don't challenge it, it'll be 10 times harder to fight later. Every person in that room becomes a witness to a gift he has no legal right to make. You have to go to that dinner, Isabella. He told me not to come. He told you that because he's afraid of what happens if you show up knowing what you know, and now you do. You're not showing up as the daughter he dismissed. You're showing up as the beneficiary of a legal trust with his signature on it. I let that land. You're not asking permission to be there, Megan said. You own the place. I sat on that floor until 11 at night. Donna had fallen asleep in the armchair. Gerald was asleep in his wheelchair, his Christmas vest slightly askew. Liam was breathing softly in the next room, probably dreaming about mac and cheese and tinfoil stars. I looked at the document spread around me like a map of someone else's crime. Trust document, mortgage statement, lawyer's letters, Polaroid, Gerald's letter. Every piece of paper told the same story. I had something. I'd always had something. And the man who told me I was nothing, the man who told me a single mom and a 5-year-old don't belong at his table, had been standing on what was mine the entire time. I thought about every Christmas I'd spent in this apartment, every dollar store candle, every night I slept on the couch so Liam could have the only bed. Every time I told myself, this is what you deserve. This is what single moms get. I didn't deserve this apartment. I owned a house. I looked at Gerald's letter. This house will always be yours, little one. I looked at my hands. Nurse hands. IV hands. Hands that held other people's children 12 hours a day. Single mom hands. Granddaughter hands. Hands that had been strong enough for everyone except myself. I photographed every document, sent the images to Megan. Originals went back in the box. Then I placed the Christmas box on the kitchen table, put the brass key in my coat pocket, and slept for 3 hours. Christmas morning, 9 a.m. I was buttoning Liam's shirt when Tyler called. Hey sis, Merry Christmas. His voice was soft, careful. Listen, I know Dad called you and I'm really sorry he was so harsh about it. That wasn't cool. I waited. The thing is, Dad mentioned you've been going through kind of a rough patch. He said you've been bringing up some stuff. About the house, about money, and some of it, I don't know, Izzy. It didn't really track. He's worried. We both are. There it was. Craig had already made his move. Before I could speak a single word of truth, my father had called my brother and told him I was losing it. Confused, unstable, saying things that didn't track. I almost admired the precision. Craig didn't call Tyler and say, "Your sister is crazy." That would be too obvious. He called and said he was worried. He framed it as concern. And Tyler, my brother, who genuinely loves me in the only way he knows how, heard worried and translated it into, "Don't believe what she tells you tonight." If I showed up at dinner and told the truth, every person in that room would already be looking at me with the soft, pitying eyes of people who'd been warned. Not angry eyes, caring eyes. The kind of eyes that are worse, because they mean no one is going to take your side. They're going to try to help you. Tyler, I said, keeping my voice level, using the same tone I use with parents at the hospital when I need them to trust me. I appreciate you calling. Just take care of yourself today, okay? Maybe come by next week when it's quieter. Maybe, I said. I hung up, looked at the trust document on the counter. 6 pages, notary seal, Craig D. Griffin's signature in blue ink. My father could tell the whole world I was delusional. He could call me confused, unstable, broken. But he couldn't unsign his own name. He couldn't unnotarize a document. He couldn't make a 30-year-old trust disappear by telling people I was having a bad day. The truth wasn't in my words. It was in his handwriting. I found Scott Brennan's law office online. Still active, Centerville. I called. Voicemail, Christmas Day. I left a message. My name is Isabella Griffin. I'm the beneficiary of the Griffin Family Trust, established 1996 by Gerald Griffin. I need to verify the current status of the trust. Please return my call. While I waited, I checked my email. I'd submitted a property inquiry to the county recorder's office the night before. The automated reply was there. Property at 1847 Oakmere Drive is currently titled under Griffin Family Trust, established 1996. Trustee of record, Craig D. Griffin. The trust was still active. The house was still titled under it. Craig was still listed as trustee, which meant I was still the beneficiary. And if Craig had mortgaged a trust property without authorization from the beneficiary, that wasn't just a family dispute. That was something a judge would want to hear about. Isabella is walking into that dinner with a folder. Her father already told everyone she's unstable. What do you think is going to happen next? I dressed Liam in his best shirt. He grabbed his star ornament. Can I give it to Grandpa Gerald now? Yes, baby, you can give it to him right now. I loaded the car. Liam, Donna, Gerald in his wheelchair, the folder, and the Christmas box. Liam watched me put the folder on the passenger seat. Mommy, why are you bringing papers to Grandpa's house? I looked at him in the rearview mirror. 5 years old. Christmas sweater. Tinfoil star clutched in both hands. Because sometimes grown-ups need to read important things out loud. Like when Ms. Davis reads our report cards? I almost laughed. Almost. Something like that, buddy. I pulled out of the parking lot. Liam held his ornament. I held my folder. Both of us carrying the thing we believed mattered most. As we drove through the neighborhood toward Oakmere Drive, I slowed the car a block early. Through the front window of the house, I could see the dining room. Craig standing at the head of the table, hand on Tyler's shoulder. Everyone laughing, candles lit, 8 place settings, and none of them were for me. Donna leaned forward from the back seat and said quietly, "After your mother died, he replaced the family photos in the hallway." I looked at her in the mirror. Which photos? The ones of you. I drove the rest of the block in silence and pulled into the driveway. Mommy, Liam asked from the back seat, is this Grandpa's house? I looked at the rearview mirror. Donna looked at me. 20 minutes of silence ahead. It was, I said. It will be again. We pulled into the driveway at 4 o'clock. The sky was already going dark. December in Ohio. The sun gives up early. The house was lit from every window. Warm yellow light. Wreath on the door. Tyler's car parked in front. A second car I didn't recognize. Probably the neighbors Craig invited. I sat in the driveway for a full minute. Engine running. Hands on the wheel. The house. Gerald's house. Board by board, nail by nail. The porch I helped him repair when I was 12. The kitchen window where Mom used to wave at us from inside. The roof. Gerald reshingled the summer I was 8. And I handed him nails one by one, standing on a stepladder that was too short. And now Craig was inside, standing at the head of a table in a house that, according to a notarized trust signed in 1996, belonged to me. Ready? Donna said from the back seat. I looked at the folder on the passenger seat. Trust document, mortgage statement, Polaroid, lawyer's letter. Ready. Donna stayed in the car with Gerald for the moment. I took Liam's hand and walked to the front door. I didn't knock. I opened it. Tyler was standing in the hallway wearing a suit. The kind he wore to job interviews he never followed through on. His face went through 3 emotions in 2 seconds. Surprise, confusion, and something that looked like relief before he caught it. Izzy? What? Dad said you weren't... Merry Christmas, Tyler. Behind him, the dining room. Table set for 8. Crystal glasses. Real napkins. Cloth, not paper. Centerpiece of red and white roses. In the kitchen doorway, Madison, blonde, mid-20s, wearing a green dress, looking at me the way you look at someone you've heard about but never met. 2 couples seated at the table, Doug and Connie Albrecht from next door, and Vince and Tammy Holloway from down the street. Craig had invited witnesses, and at the head of the table, Craig, wineglass in hand. He turned when he heard Tyler say my name. His face locked for 1 second, then reset into the concerned father mask he wore like a second skin. Isabella, we weren't expecting you. I knew what he meant. He meant, I told you not to come. Liam wanted to give Grandpa Gerald his Christmas present, I said. Liam let go of my hand and ran to the living room, where Donna was now wheeling Gerald through the side entrance. Liam held up his tinfoil star. Grandpa, I made this for you. Gerald took the ornament. His fingers trembled. He looked at Liam. Then he looked at me. A flicker behind his eyes. There and gone. Isabella? Craig said, lowering his voice, stepping toward me. This isn't the time. Tyler has an announcement to make. I know, I said. So do I. The room went quiet. Not silent. The kind of quiet where everyone pretends to be looking at their napkins but is actually watching. Craig saw the folder in my hand. He stared at it the way a man stares at a closed door he knows is about to open. Whatever you think you have, he said, this is not the place. I looked around the room. The walls Gerald framed, the floor Gerald laid, the staircase Gerald built. The same one I used to slide down in my socks on Christmas morning while Mom yelled at me to be careful. This is exactly the place, I said. This is the only place. Craig looked past me at Donna, who was now standing by Gerald's wheelchair near the living room entrance. Donna met his eyes and held them. Steady. 15 years of silence ending in a single look. While Craig recalibrated, I could see him doing it. The micro-adjustments behind his eyes, the recalculation. Madison approached me in the hallway. I'm Madison, she said. We haven't actually met. I know who you are. Tyler talks about you. She smiled, but it didn't quite land. Tyler told me his sister couldn't make it tonight. He seemed sad about it. Did he tell you why? Madison hesitated. He said you were busy. Something about work. That was Craig's version, filtered through Tyler. Isabella can't come, she's busy. Not. Isabella was told not to come because her existence embarrasses us. Tyler also mentioned something about the house being refinanced next month, Madison said. She said it casually, the way you mention the weather. Is that normal? To refinance right before a gift? My hands tightened on the folder. No, it's not. Madison didn't push further. But something shifted in her expression. A hairline fracture in the picture she'd been given of this family. She'd walked into tonight expecting a celebration. She was starting to realize she'd walked into something else. Craig tapped his glass with a fork. He walked to the head of the table, lifted his glass, and tapped it with a fork. Before anything else, I've been planning something special tonight. He smiled at Tyler and Madison. Tyler, Madison, I want to make an announcement. Everyone turned. This house, Craig said, and his voice was steady, rehearsed, warm. This house has been my life's work. I built it. I maintained it. I poured everything I had into these walls. He paused for effect. And tonight, I want to announce that I'm giving this house to Tyler and Madison as a wedding gift. The next generation deserves a home to build their lives in. Doug Albrecht raised his glass. Craig, that's incredibly generous. What a beautiful gesture, Tammy said. Tyler's eyes were wet. Dad, I don't know what to say. Madison, that's so thoughtful, Craig. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was raising their glasses, except Gerald. In his wheelchair by the wall, Gerald was looking at Craig. And in one of those moments that come and go like radio static through the fog, his eyes cleared. He looked at Craig and he shook his head. Slowly, side to side. Nobody saw it, except me. I stepped forward. Actually, Dad, you can't give away something that was never yours. Craig laughed. It wasn't a real laugh. It was the one he uses when he wants people to think he's in on a joke that doesn't exist. He turned to the room with the face he'd been preparing for weeks. Concerned father. Patient. Long-suffering. This is what I was worried about, he said, shaking his head. Isabella's been going through a really hard time lately. Being a single mom, money problems. And she's gotten some confused ideas about things. Some stories that don't quite add up. He looked at Tyler. Tyler looked away. Craig turned back to me. Sweetheart, sit down. Have some dinner. We can talk about all this later. His voice was warm, reasonable. the voice of a man who had already told everyone in the room that his daughter was falling apart and was now performing compassion in real time. I didn't sit down. I opened the folder. The first thing I pulled out was the Polaroid. Gerald, young and strong, holding me in front of this house. Holly wreath on the door behind us. I held the photo up so the room could see it. "Do you recognize this picture, Dad?" Craig barely glanced. "That's just an old photo. Your grandfather took a lot of pictures." "Turn it over." I flipped the Polaroid. Gerald's handwriting, the steady, careful lettering from before the disease. "For my first grandchild. This house will always be yours." The room shifted. Doug leaned forward. Connie set down her glass. It's one thing to hear a daughter make a claim. It's another to see a living man's, handwriting making the same one. Craig recovered fast. He always does. "Your grandfather had dementia. He wrote all kinds of things that didn't mean anything. A scribble on the back of a photo isn't a legal document." He looked around the room, scanning faces, calibrating. Tammy nodded uncertainly. She wanted to believe the man who'd been her neighbor for 20 years. Doug wasn't nodding. Craig reached for the Polaroid. I pulled it back. "You're right," I said. "A scribble isn't a legal document." I reached into the folder and pulled out the trust. 6 pages. Heavy legal paper. Notary seal embossed in the corner. The kind you can feel. I held up the signature page. "This is the Griffin Family Trust," I said. "Established March 15th, 1996. Filed with the law office of Scott Brennan, attorney at law, Centerville, Ohio." I read clearly, slowly, the way I read medication labels to parents at the hospital. Beneficiary: Isabella Marie Griffin. I paused. Looked at my father. Trustee: Craig D. Griffin. I turned the page toward the room. His signature was right there. Blue ink. Unmistakable. "That's your handwriting, Dad. You signed this document 30 years ago. You agreed to hold this house in trust for me until I turned 18. I'm 30. I've been the legal beneficiary of this property for 12 years and you never told me." The room was silent. Not the polite kind, the kind where people stop pretending. Doug stood up from his chair. Madison stepped out of the kitchen doorway. She walked to the table, looked at the trust document, looked at Tyler. Her voice was quiet. "Tyler, did you know about this?" Tyler's face was white. No, I didn't." "Your father signed a legal document saying this house belongs to your sister," Madison said, "and he just stood here and announced he was giving it to you." She stepped back, half a step. Not dramatic, just a shift in weight, a turn of the shoulder. But everyone in the room saw it. Madison was no longer standing next to Tyler. She was standing apart. I pulled out the last document. "This is a mortgage statement," I said. "Property, 1847 Oakmere Drive. This address. Outstanding balance, $142,000. 3 mortgages. All taken out by Craig D. Griffin, on a property held in a trust where I am the sole beneficiary." I didn't look at Craig. I looked at Tyler. "Your tuition at Ohio State, $85,000. Your car and your condo down payment, $60,000. The garage Grandpa Gerald built with his hands, sold 3 years ago for $28,000. The same month Dad gave you what he called an early inheritance." Tyler's mouth was open, no sound. "This dinner tonight," I said. "This announcement. This was never about introducing Madison. This was about transferring the house to Tyler before I ever found out it was mine. You didn't invite the neighbors for dinner, Dad. You invited them as witnesses." Craig's face changed. The concerned father mask didn't fall. It cracked. Underneath was something I'd never seen before. Panic. "You have no right to come into my house," he started. He stopped. He heard it. Everyone heard it. My house. Say that again, Dad. He couldn't. He stood there with his mouth half open and his wine glass trembling, and he couldn't finish the sentence because every word he'd said for the last 15 years was a variation of the same lie, and he'd just said it in a room full of people who now knew it. Craig turned to Donna. You, he said. You gave her the box. Donna stood up. 78 years old. 5'2". She'd been sitting by Gerald's wheelchair, quiet as a church mouse, through the entire thing. Gerald asked me to, she said. 20 years ago, before the disease took his words, he handed me that key and said, when she needs it, give it to her. Donna's voice didn't waver. She needed it tonight, Craig. I looked at my father, not with rage, not with satisfaction, with something I didn't expect. Clarity. You told me I didn't belong here, I said. You said a single mom and a 5-year-old don't belong at this table. I looked at the table, the crystal glasses, the cloth napkins, the roses. This table is in a house your father built with his hands. He left it to me. You stole it. You mortgaged it. You used it to build Tyler's life and erase mine. And then you told me I don't belong. I let the silence hold. I've always belonged here, Dad. You're the one who doesn't. Doug Albrecht picked up his coat from the back of his chair. Craig, I think you need to talk to a lawyer. Connie followed him to the door. Vince and Tammy didn't say anything. They just left. The way people leave when they've seen something they can't unsee. Craig stood at the head of the table, alone. The glasses were still full. The food was still untouched. The roses were still perfect. Tyler was sitting down, not in a chair, on the floor, like someone had cut the strings. He was staring at the mortgage statement I'd placed on the table. Madison picked up her coat. And Gerald, my grandfather, 80 years old, trapped in a body that no longer obeyed his mind, reached for my hand. I took it. His fingers were cold and thin, and I held them the way I hold a child's hand at the hospital. Gently, completely, with everything I have. I knelt next to his wheelchair. This close, I could see his eyes clearly. The fog was thick today. He'd been silent through everything, watching without processing, the way he watches most things now. But when my hand touched his, something moved behind his eyes. A spark, like a match struck in a dark room. He looked at me, then at the walls, then at the floor he'd laid with his own hands 48 years ago. Something in him recognized this. Not the argument, not the documents, not the words. The house. His house. Mine, he said. And then, looking at me, yours. 2 words. The clearest he'd spoken in years. Donna started crying, quietly, the way women cry who've been holding it for a very long time. Liam walked over. He'd been sitting on the floor in the living room, quiet through all of it. The way 5-year-olds go quiet when they feel the room change temperature. He was still holding his tinfoil star. He walked up to the table, reached up on his toes, and placed the ornament in front of Gerald. To Grandpa. Gerald looked at the star, then at Liam, then at me. His hand tightened around mine. 3 generations. In the house Gerald built. At the table Craig tried to steal. Everyone left except Craig. The dining room was empty. Dishes untouched. Candles burning low. The smell of food, no one ate. Craig sat in a chair at the far end of the table. I stood. For the first time in my life, I was standing, and he was sitting. You think you've won something? He said. His voice was flat, stripped. No more warm father. No more reasonable patriarch. Just a man at a table in a house he'd been pretending was his. You think a piece of paper changes anything? I raised you. I kept this family together after your mother died. I was there every day, every school play, every doctor's appointment, every... With what money, Dad? He stopped. You didn't work for this house. Grandpa Gerald built it with his hands, board by board, nail by nail, and left it to me. You didn't pay for Tyler's education with money you earned. You mortgaged my inheritance. $142,000 in loans against a property you had no legal right to borrow against. I paused. Let the number sit in the room. And Mom, you didn't hold this family together after Mom died. You held it hostage. You took a house that was supposed to be mine, and you used it to fund a version of this family where Tyler got everything and I got told I didn't belong. Part of me wanted to stop. That's the truth. That's the part I don't see in Reddit stories. The part where the daughter with all the evidence in her hands still feels the pull. Because he did raise me. He was there. He packed my lunches. He drove me to school. He sat in the hospital waiting room when I got my tonsils out. But he did all of it in a house that belonged to me, with money drawn from my trust, while building a narrative in which I was the family failure and Tyler was the success story he'd bankrolled with my birthright. That's not raising a child. That's housing one while robbing her. Your grandfather was confused when he made that trust, Craig said. Quieter now. It was a mistake. Then why did you sign it? He had no answer. For the first time in my life, my father was silent. And it wasn't the strategic silence he used to control a room. It was the silence of a man who'd run out of lies. I picked up the Christmas box. Gerald's box. The one he carved with his woodworking hands the year I was born. I'll be contacting Scott Brennan's office Monday morning, I said. I suggest you find your own lawyer. I walked to the door. Stopped. Turned around. Merry Christmas, Dad. Tyler caught me in the driveway. Izzy, wait. Please. His eyes were red. His suit was rumpled. He looked like someone who'd just been told the ground he was standing on wasn't solid. I didn't know, he said. I swear to God, I didn't know about any trust. I didn't know about the mortgage. Dad just... He gave me money and I never asked where it came from. I looked at my brother. I believed him. Tyler didn't know about the trust document. Tyler didn't sit down with Craig and plan to steal my inheritance. But I believe you didn't know about the trust, I said. But Dad excluded me from every holiday for 3 years. Thanksgiving, Easter, 4th of July, your birthday. And in 3 years, Tyler, 3 years, you never once called me and said, "Where's my sister?" His mouth opened. Nothing came out. You didn't plan this, I said, but you benefited from it. Every check Dad wrote you, my tuition, my car, my condo, you never asked where it came from because the answer might have been uncomfortable. And when Dad told you I wasn't coming to Christmas, you believed him, because it was easier than asking why. Tyler's chin trembled. He looked like the 10-year-old boy I used to walk to school after Mom died, the boy I made sandwiches for, the boy I read to at night because Dad was too tired. You don't have to answer tonight, I said, but you have to answer eventually. I opened the car door. Liam was already asleep in his car seat, head tilted, ornamentless now. He'd left his star with Gerald. Donna sat in the back with Gerald, who was asleep too, his hand still resting on Donna's lap. I drove away. In the rearview mirror, Tyler stood alone in the driveway of a house that didn't belong to him, watching my taillights disappear. Madison found Tyler in the driveway 10 minutes later. She was sitting in her car, engine off, hands on the wheel. Tyler came to the window. Madison, please, I didn't know. She looked at him through the glass. You didn't know the house wasn't your father's. But did you ever ask where the money came from? All of it? Tuition? The condo? The car? Did you ever once sit down and think, Dad works a regular job. How is he paying for all this? Tyler stood in the cold. He replayed every check. Every, "Don't worry about it, son." Every time his father told him Isabella couldn't make it to a holiday, and Tyler shrugged and moved on. "He told your sister she didn't belong in her own house," Madison said. "On Christmas. He told a woman and her 5-year-old child that they weren't welcome in a home her grandfather built for her." Tyler said nothing. "I need time," Madison said. She started the engine. Tyler watched her drive away. Second time that night, he stood in that driveway and watched someone he loved disappear down the road. January. I sat across from an estate planning attorney, a referral from Megan, in a small office on 3rd Street. She reviewed the trust documents, the mortgage statements, the lawyer's letters Craig had thrown away. "The trust is valid," she said. "You've been the rightful beneficiary since you turned 18. Your father, as trustee, had a fiduciary obligation to transfer the property. He didn't. And these mortgages, taken against a trust property without the beneficiary's consent, that's a serious legal issue. Can I get the house back?" She looked at me over her reading glasses. "Ms. Griffin, the house never stopped being yours." I filed. Not for revenge, not to punish Craig. Because the house Gerald built with his hands, board by board, nail by nail, deserved to belong to the person he chose. I called Tyler. "I'm filing the paperwork. This isn't about you and me. This is about what's right." A long pause. Then, "I know." March. Craig's attorney advised him not to fight it. Fighting meant discovery. Discovery meant forensic accountants. Forensic accountants meant potential fraud charges. Craig signed the transfer paperwork. The house at 1847 Oakmere Drive was officially titled in the name of Isabella Marie Griffin. I received the keys from the attorney's office on a Tuesday. Same day, I got a voicemail from Tyler. "Madison and I are taking a break. I need to figure some things out. I'm sorry, Izzy, for all of it. April." I opened the front door of the house at 1847 Oakmere Drive with a key that had my name on the deed for the first time. Liam ran in ahead of me. "Mommy, this is a big house." I stood in the doorway. Gerald's floorboards under my feet. Gerald's walls around me. The kitchen where Christine baked pies. The staircase I slid down in socks. The porch I helped repair when I was 12. Behind me, Donna wheeled Gerald through the door. He looked around. Slowly. The way someone looks at a place they haven't seen in years but recognize in their bones. His hand reached out and touched the wall. His fingers traced the doorframe. "Home," he said. One word. Clear as a bell. "And I swear. I swear." He squeezed Donna's hand when he said it. I hung new photos on the wall that week. Me and Liam, Donna and Gerald. A photo of Christine I found in the Christmas box. Young, laughing, standing in this kitchen with flour on her apron. I put it above the stove where she used to stand. And underneath Gerald's old Polaroid, the one with the holly wreath, the one that started everything, I placed a small frame with his handwriting. For my first grandchild. Liam chose his bedroom, the one at the top of the stairs, with the window overlooking the backyard. The same room that used to be mine. When I tucked him in the first night, he said, "Mommy, this bed doesn't fold." "No, baby, it doesn't. Can I keep it?" "It's yours." Craig didn't call, didn't write, didn't show up. The neighbors, Doug, Connie, Vince, Tammy, they waved when they saw me in the yard. They didn't mention Christmas. They didn't need to. Some truths, once spoken, don't require follow-up. Tyler called in May. We talked for 40 minutes. He didn't apologize, not with words. But he asked about Liam. He asked about the house. He asked if the porch still creaked on the left side. I told him it did. He said, "Grandpa always meant to fix that." I said, "I know, I'll get to it." It was the first real conversation we'd had in 3 years. If someone told you that you didn't belong, and you later found out they were standing on something that was yours all along, I want you to know, it was never about your worth. It was about their fear of it. I sit on the porch now, in the evenings after my shift, after Liam's had his bath and his bedtime story. I sit in the same spot where Gerald used to sit with me and Sandwood. Donna watches from the kitchen window. Gerald sleeps in the living room, in his house. Finally, in the home he built. My father told me I didn't belong. He said a single mom and a 5-year-old had no place at his table. But the table was in my house, the house my grandfather built with his hands and left for me. He didn't steal my house because he hated me. He stole it because as long as I believed I had nothing, I would never ask for what was mine. If someone in your family tells you you're not enough, ask yourself, what are they standing on that belongs to you? My name is Isabella Griffin. I'm 30 years old. I'm a pediatric nurse, a single mom, and the owner of a house my grandfather built with his hands. It took me 12 years to find out. But I'm home now,